Okay, so my drink of choice, and it always kind of depends on the day,
Good
but
to
I'll
know.
say, I'm here meeting a new friend. So I'm going to go with a specialty cocktail from, whatever bar or restaurant we're at. Generally, I like to go for something that has either tequila in it. So I'm going to go with a cocktail specialty that has a nice refined tequila.
So you like to explore new options.
I do. I love to explore new options. That's definitely about the personality of who I am is all about exploring something new and trying something new. So, and I'm always down for a good recommendation.
Different ages, different backgrounds, different stories. One common denominator: the desire to unleash a powerhouse woman. Selling on heels. Give a girl the right shoes and she will conquer the world. Selling is a craft and a science. Come to learn with us the superpower behind behavior for sales. Human Behavior Hacker School.
Even though today we are in a pandemic, at some point we're going to start meeting clients face to face or networking with clients. And I always ask the person that I met why you're drinking and why you choose that drink. And that tells me so much about the personality. For example, now I know that you're an explorer. You like to explore new things and you're an adventurous person.
Yes, definitely. And I think too, like you said, it's all about really understanding who your audience is. And when you're able to have such a lighthearted question like that, it really breaks those barriers early, and creates a more personable, authentic, and genuine experience right at the beginning, before any business ever gets involved.
And I think that the best sales happen when you're not selling. I always say,
Yeah.
stop selling, but never stop selling. And
Mhm.
people look like, what you mean? Like, if you come into me in a LinkedIn approach when a networking, hey, I'm Taylor, I'm selling mattress. You need a mattress? Like, even though I need a mattress, it's not going to happen. But if you come
Right.
to me like, hey, I'm Susan, by the way, what are you drinking? Oh, I have the same moods. I love your earrings. It's like I taking it away from what you're expecting to everybody ask you.
Yep.
And it's like I shift the conversation to a point that it's personal. You tell me something about you and I tell you something about myself. And now that you know something about me, you feel kind of like the obligation to tell me something about you. And that's
Yep.
what the conversation and the relax, we lower the shield and I forget then I'm in a networking maybe or when I'm
Right.
a sales call or in a
Right.
sales meeting.
Right. I think that really goes into when you're first beginning a sale, the whole idea of discovery. Like, what does a discovery call consist of? And I think so often when we're looking to do business, we automatically hop into the conversation of, what is your problem and how can we solve it, versus taking the more human approach to um, understanding the person who's presenting the problem, and then selling them on who you are as a person and how you ultimately have the solution. And again, at the end of the day, I think it really just comes down to being more personable and not forgetting that we are not robots. And when we have sales interactions or we're trying to make a pitch or trying to close a deal, that all of those things are happening between a human and a human. It's a human interaction versus me pitching to just a robot and it getting to the person and that finally happening or not. I think that's why it's so effective, and one of my personal strengths are always tied to having more uh, conversations like this where you can see a lot of verbal communication and all those things, versus if you're trying to make a pitch or something via email or, like you said, via LinkedIn. It's like there's always a better approach, and I think the approach always starts at the most human understanding and the most humane level before actually going into a whole I'm here to sell you something, because that can be an automatic turn off right away.
Before we start, we was talking about Googling our name and how people, and the truth to be told, people Google you even before they're going to meet to you. It's
Yeah.
funny because the last study says that people Google you first the company second, and the product they're going to buy from you third. So on that point, I was talking with people who are experts and they have been doing sales training or sales analytic for a long time. And they says, well, because the sales rep usually have an 18 months to 2 years cycle and they go to another company. Like, why? Because they have the Rolodex and people buy from them. So sometimes you need to hire, or you hire a sales rep that is you giving more commission and more money and in a startup. Why? Because they have a Rolodex. They're going to put your company in a place and in a position that nobody else can do it. So that's what you're paying for. But you need to understand that the person is going to move to another company. Why? Because that person is Googleable, and whatever that person is going to, meaning that is serious, because cap attract, and because has a consistency only to go places where they're good. So that's what you're paying for when you have a really good sales rep.
Right, for real. Yeah, I think that I think with that, I mean, that's super important, and I think that's the power of having a really strong. There's a couple things that I think come with that. I think that as a person who's in that position, when they're Googleable, you can also assume that they have a really great network, and that their network knows them for being a person who's reliable, who's well connected, who's up to date on everything. And like you said, that Rolodex of people who've done business with them will continue to follow them until the ends of the earth, because they know that they have those qualities that at the end of the day help them successful in their business as well. And a lot of that networking from my career that I've understood has been so important has come through really building foundations with organizations like the National Sales Network, which is, you know, how you and I had connected, and probably there's some other things as well, just because we know a lot of the same people. We both have great networks, but it's like you build these communities within a community, and they can lead you to so many other things that you may have never really envisioned, but you're so glad that they worked out that way. So with the National Sales Network, I was exposed to that organization by my godmother, who was at the same time looking for an opportunity in Atlanta and connected with their chapter in the South. And I went to one of their events and was blown away by the quality and the quantity of people that were there. And at that time, I had just graduated from college, and she was like, it doesn't matter what type of sales you were doing, like, you can sell. You have an amazing personality to be a part of this world and explore opportunities to strengthen your sales skills and your marketing skills. So I connected with NSN, and I've grown in the ranks, and now I'm, you know, president of the organization. But I'll say I attribute a lot of my professional growth and my personal growth to my connection with the National Sales Network and the ability to really build off of their network. I've, you know, learned about several different career opportunities through the National Sales Network. I've made a lot of great long-term friends through the National Sales Network, a lot of mentors. And so I think when you are really effective sales professional, especially as a woman, and you're able to really build your network and make it work for you in several avenues of your life, that everyone ultimately who's a part of your network or your team really benefits from those connections that you've been able to build.
I want to go a step behind, because
Yeah.
Most people have a parent or a grandmother who is a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, and those are usually the careers that are passed to the generations.
Yeah.
But in your case, your grandmother was a sales rep, and she passed the tradition of sales to you. So I think that is an interesting story, because what do you want to be when you was a kid, and how your grandmother has such an influence in your life?
Yeah, so just a correction, my godmother.
My godmother, I'm sorry,
yeah, no,
godmother.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I mean, So growing up, my family's very blue collar. Like most of my family works at General Motors. And so my grandfather, that's who raised me, but my godmother was a really close friend of my mother's. And so she was a very early influence in my life. And so I would spend a lot of summers with her and I would watch her work. And I had no idea what she actually did for a living. I remember I would just go and see her in the summer and spend maybe like a week or so with her. And she would, take me on a ride to like a storage facility to pick up something for her customers and drop it off. But she had a very interesting work lifestyle, and it was very flexible. And she would be on the phone for a couple hours, but she seemed like she made like good money because she had a really nice house and all those things. And I never knew what she actually did. But like you said, that exposure makes a difference, because if it weren't for her, then I think how I would have approached my career would have been totally different. When I went to school, I studied fashion marketing and management, and I was very much into the buying side of that business more so than the sales side. And it's because I never really had exposure to what a vendor relationship looked like. And once I kind of got exposed to that, that eventually was able to serve me in one of my previous roles, which was to be a key account manager for a local furniture manufacturer. So at some point in time in my life, I was able to touch on something that I had a lot of curiosity in, but never really knew how to get there, and still be in an industry that I've always had a passion for. So it definitely is interesting. I think when it comes to sales is such a transferable skill, and I've sold a lot of different things in my career so far. And I think that the main skill that always seems to serve me is just my really strong ability to build relationships, and that they be very authentic and trusting very early on. I will say that's always been my success. And I think that's something that I'm not born with, but has always been a part of my personality, where I'm able to quickly build really authentic relationships with people. And it's been able to really serve me in my career and lead me to a lot of my success.
That is something that you learned from your godmother, or for being part so early on the NSN association? Where are you coming from?
Yeah, definitely with my godmother. I mean, I saw how she was able to really build relationships with just people in general. She has a very diverse and influential friend group. And I think that shared personality trait that we both have, even though it's not by blood, that it's something that was really expounded upon me. And then the way that she's just been able to connect me. So it's a lot of building that relationship and then using that relationship in any situation where you have the opportunity to really let it shine at the end of the day. And I think I learned both of those things from her and was able to implement them in a organization where it could really flourish in NSN, in National Sales Network. Yeah.
From all the ladies that I talk that are in sales, you are the only person who have a strong female role that was attached to your family, that make you really aware that what are your goals, teach you how to shine, and pass in certain way the craft of selling to go. So I'm not going to say that you have an advantage, but I hope I had that advantage when I was deciding what to do with my life. Oh God, I wish I had grown with that. But how important is the mentoring? Because you didn't even ask for a mentor. You grow with her. Being a mentor as a strong female, like independent, like you said, she have a good house, she have time for herself, she was independent. Like that's what everybody want to have.
Yeah.
You don't realize that when you're 5 years old. You realize that when you're 25 and you're having so much debt because you think that you need to go to college, master, and PhD. Like, wait a moment.
Yeah.
I can be a sales rep and be a super independent, manage
Yeah.
my finances, and not depend on anyone.
For sure. I think it's super important. I think that it's important that women who are able to really pass that on to someone really take the opportunity to do so. Now, my godmother doesn't have any children, and so I think that she was able to expound a little bit of that on me, but she has swarms of nieces and nephews, and so, you know, she's always there to give that mentorship. But I think that it's so important to have a mentor at these really important stages in your life growing up, because they continuously help and reshape the way that you think and the way that you're influenced. So the relationships that I had with her, you know, we were close when I was going through puberty. We were really close, and she helped me when I was looking at schools. And we've remained close as I explore like my career opportunities. And I think what's really important as she is my mentor is that she knows how much to share with her experience and how much to give me advice that I can lean to, and also is very conscious of when she needs to back away, and is not pushy and, oh, you should pursue this or you should pursue that. It's more of play into what your interests are, because you only have one life to live, and you should do whatever makes you happy. And if I share advice that I receive from other people who I think are also great influence in my life, you know, her opinion is not overbearing, like that she's the ultimate mentor that I need to have. Her opinion is like, that's great that you received that advice. You know, what else can you take away from that? And so I think it's really important that, and it's something that I'm really trying to do, is when I meet especially young Black professionals who are a little bit younger than me, who may be in their early 20s, or who may be in school right now, or who I can be of influence, and if they're at high school age or things like that, to share what I've been able to do. Because I think that your mindset changes at each of those really important times in your life. And so to even have a different mentor, I think is also very important. But I think as a mentor, I think it's important to always stay involved and stay connected, and never be too overbearing, but never be afraid to share, you know, the things that have gotten you to where you are today.
Profiling a customer is the challenge sales reps face every day. What if I tell you you can read anyone in 90 seconds? What if I tell you it can be done? Come to learn with us, Human Behavior Hacker School.
You talk about mentors and you have your godmother. So again, in-house, perfect.
And yeah, in-house is always helpful.
So when you need to look for a mentor, since it was so natural for you to have it in-house, how you look for other mentors was related to the point that you want to be or the point you are and learn more? Because people sometimes they get too confused, like when I should have a mentor, when I have the problem or when I have the idea where I want to go.
For me, I think it's definitely more aspirational mentorship. So where I want to go. I'm currently on a journey now where I'm welcoming different mentors and women of influence into my life now, and adding them to my circle. And the way in which I've done that is the way in which I do that is I typically I use the network that I have. So I look to my connections within National Sales Network, because that's very easy for me to kind of like go into. So I look within my immediate connections. I look into the roles that I'm ultimately seeking, or like the level of leadership that I'm aiming for. And then I make the connection and I try to find some type of similarity that we both share. So I recently made a connection with Stacy Smith Morton, who is a VP at L'Oreal. And I, the first time I came across her profile, I was looking for roles maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was just looking at companies that I could easily connect with in the Chicagoland area without moving. So I looked up L'Oreal on LinkedIn and just tried to find people on LinkedIn who I might have a first or second connection with. And we had a lot of mutual friends in common because she has some connections with the National Sales Network. And so I reached out and I looked at her profile and just tried to figure out commonalities that we had. And I learned that her and I shared a similar background of, being a part of sales and having an interest in marketing and all of those things. And so I had the connection. I, added her on LinkedIn. We eventually connected as of this year. I invited her to attend one of our events for NSN so I could actually meet her in person. And we connected there. I stayed in touch with her. And now we, are building, a semi-monthly cadence of just checking in with one another, just seeing how we could better serve each other. And not limit it to being just professionally, but personally, because we are in such an interesting time right now. So just to seek a mentor and say, oh, I need you to help me with my career, I think is very selfish. I think it's, what else can I do for you? So she was sharing with me that, she's building different relationships with her clients, and a lot of them are focusing on the digital marketing landscape. And I'm like, oh, I can help you with that. I can provide you some analytics or some insight into that. I'm very familiar with that space from a sales perspective. This is how I've understood how to tie it into marketing. And so we're able to serve each other. And I think it's really important when people think about mentorships that it doesn't have to be in
one way. It's 2 ways.
Yeah, it's two ways, and that age doesn't have to be a factor. I think a lot of times people think that I have to find a mentor that's like so much older than me, or because I'm younger, I'm not able to really share anything. And it's like, no, you have a lot to offer. Like, you have a lot to offer the world. You have a lot to offer your mentor, and it can be a solid 2-way communication that is very uplifting for the both of you.
I want to talk about the NSN, but you just touched a topic that I wasn't expecting to talk about. Since you put it so clearly, I'm going to dig that. So maybe This is going to be longer. You talk about mentors, and you look so clear and what are the objectives since you're really young. So that's what I want to do. How am I going to do it? You have the right mentoring since the beginning. But something that is strike me is when you look for a mentor, you was really clear and what you was looking for and what you have to offer. Most people is clueless. I have people who approach me and says, "Can you be my mentor?" I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I don't have a weekend off in years. Why are you going to be mentoring you? Fight for it and says, okay, for example, we're going to do it on Sunday, 7 p.m. Like, oh, but at that time I'm going out with my boyfriend. So you're not my kind of person. Why? Because if I'm going to put my time on you, I want to know that you're willing to sacrifice what is needed in order to me put in the time. So it says, oh, can we on Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the morning? Like, no, I have clients at that time. Right. So what you have to offer me to be my mentee. What do you mean? Like, this is a 2-way street. I want to become better mentor, helping you to be my mentee. But you need to have a clear plan that what you want me to be mentoring on, what is your goal? So I need a business life plan if you want me to be your mentor. 99% of the people don't go back to me and say, you're too harsh. Like, no. If I'm going to be mentoring someone, I want to make sure that my time is put in someone who's going to do the same. One of the compromise I have is you need to promise and compromise that you're going to do the same with somebody else.
Yep.
So
Yep.
for the people who want to look for a mentor and they don't know how to start, besides like, hey, my name is Susan, I want you to mentor me, like,
Yep.
how? You did
Yeah.
a really good example when you apply this woman who you give them real life experience and you can help each other. How
Yep.
somebody who's looking for a mentor should be approaching the person they is their idol, they like, maybe they have the path that you want to have, or maybe are on the company or the field that you want to go. How you approach them?
Yeah, certainly. So I think it's a matter of doing your research initially, just like if you were looking for a job or if you're looking for your next client, you do your research and you're cognizant of what they have going on as much as you can find out and what you're able to offer. And so whether they're a VP or the CEO of a company, I think it's really important to understand understand how to make that connection with them and make it organic. And so I think that one really simplified way of doing it is understanding, if they are the CEO of a company, what was the last speaking engagement that they led, or what was an article that was maybe written on about them? How can you take information from that, absorb it, and then relay it as you understand it and can relate to it, and then share that information back out with them, and not necessarily a flattering way, but showing that you understand who they are as a person and how much you appreciate their perspective, and again, make that genuine connection. So for me, if there was, someone at a higher level, or even going back to, building a relationship with Stacy, is, I looked at her profile. I understood that she was a VP. She's a VP of a company. And I looked at some of the commonalities that we had, and it was as simple as, hey, Stacy, I saw that you attended the NSN conference last year where you spoke about women in leadership. I was unable to attend the conference, but I read more about your story and your background. I also see that we have this type of connection, and it could be that we're from the same city, that, she shared that she likes the same type of food. I would love to meet up with you and grab grab a drink, or do like a virtual coffee date or something like that, or virtual coffee meet or something like that. So I think there's very easy ways to make it happen. You just have to find that common thread of looping you back together and sharing, why you want to make this connection. And then I think after you establish how earnest you are, then, like you said, sticking with the time commitment. So you have to be understanding of like where everybody is in terms of their guidelines, and setting those limitations. So like you said, hey, I want to meet at 8:00 in the morning. Well, I can't do that because I have clients. But instead, offering so that there's no objection, I understand that you have clients at 8 a.m. Do you mind if we do, a virtual lunch? We can both bring our lunch and make it like we're actually in person, So I think there's so many ways to do it, and finding ways to deal with that objection in a very fun way is a way to overcome that. And I think now that we have these virtual communications that people are very open to trying, I think there's also a little bit more flexibility there. So just understanding like who your audience is at the very early stages and why you're trying to connect, I think is super important when you're looking to reach out to a mentor in the first place.
Talking about virtual is funny because you and I, we have been connected, I would say almost a year. And every time that NSN have an event, I'm not in the city, I'm traveling on training. And the funny part is when we get to the pandemic, we just finally found the time to connect. So instead to always says, don't look crisis as a bad way. Actually, I have the times and a space, like virtually, because everybody has accept to be virtual now, to meet with people that I've been exchanging emails or texts, and we never had the chance to get coffee because busy or traveling. And now that is a chance to meet with people deeply.
Yes.
Believe it or not, now that we have more time because we don't travel and go from one place to another.
Right.
But the truth to be told, we met because I was trying to get in any event possible in NSN, and I always have a conflict with time. That you have been part of that association since the beginning. Why don't you tell us what it is? Where it's located, because this is not going to always be seen in Chicago and Illinois, and how important it is to belong to an association who can help you and make your skin thicker at the time to, I'm young, I think I know everything, and actually you don't know anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for that, Susan. I'm glad that we could finally connect. And that, I feel like a lot of this conversation is very divine because it's been a long time coming. So thank you again for sharing your platform with me. But National Sales Network is a membership-based sales organization. Our mission is to essentially grow the sales and developmental skills of sales and sales professionals, and all of us in the room who are just looking to improve our sales skills. Because we know at the end of the day that sales is a very transferable skill that can be used across various industries, and even in your home life. Like when it comes to the art of persuasion, or when it comes, you can use that at home, you can use that to sell your business, you can use that to sell the product or services for somebody else. So the organization was created over 25 years ago, and it started off in New Jersey. And the whole purpose of it was there were no business resource groups or employee resource groups back then, but you had a really strong amount of specifically Black sales professionals who were a part of these large corporations, mostly in the field of pharmaceutical sales, medical device sales, financial services sales, and they, really didn't have the resources in order to provide professional growth so that they could continue to be successful in their careers in a safe environment. And I think that's super important. Like, sure, maybe other organizations have existed, but specifically for Black sales professionals, when there's not a lot of us to begin with in a lot of those industries, it was a chance to really build an organization, a very intimate yet highly connected organization, where people could come together in over 19 chapters at this point, or 19 different cities at this point, and connect with, now that we're over our 25 years, thousands of sales professionals, and grow. And every experience that we have with one another, it always feels like family. Our organization locally is comprised of, over 100 members. We reach thousands of supporters throughout the Chicagoland area, touching Indiana and the Wisconsin area as well. Like I said, we have over 19 different chapters in different cities across the US. And we have a network that's very committed and dedicated to the mission and the vision of our organization, which is to continue the professional and developmental growth of sales and sales management professionals. And so because of that, we have a lot of folks who are very tenured in their career, and they serve as excellent mentors, especially for people who come out of college and they are working in retail, or they're interested in an account management role, but they're really trying to figure out, how do I get my career to the next level? And where do I find that? They connect with National Sales Network. So there's a lot of people who are in that millennial age group, like myself, who right out of college became exposed to our organization very early, because they had someone else who is a member of our organization reach back to them and say, hey, you need to be a part of this. Just like with my experience of my godmother reaching back out to me and saying I need to be a part of this network, and feeling that it was a great place for me to grow and develop. That happens all the time. A lot of our members reach out to their children or their nieces and nephews, and who are at, this mid-20s, early 30s age, and say, you need to be a part of this organization. And I think being a part of a professional organization like this and staying very consistent is so important to your growth, because it's an easy way for you to connect with mentors. Like we talked about that a lot. It's an easy way for you to connect with mentors. It's a really easy way for you to connect to your next job opportunity, because our folks know so many other people. And once you connect with one person in National Sales Network, you connect with their whole network of people who are more than willing to support you in your career journey and help get you to the next level. And then thirdly, I think it's very important because it just helps you build a lot of professional skills that you may not be able to develop at your 9 to 5. They may not be fully invested in that, or may not be able to offer, all that training. And if they do, it may not be as personal, or you may not feel as comfortable. And so with National Sales Network, you're able to come into an environment where it's very open, it's very transparent. There's a lot of people who look like you, who share a similar background to yours, and who are in the same space as you and wanting to learn and to grow, and also take their career to the next level. So I think it's all encompassing, a great organization where you're looking to grow, develop, and flourish, and really build a strong connection with people who are completely invested and want to see you excel as well. Then you would want to connect with an organization like the National Sales Network.
Disclaimer, I'm not a sales rep. I train sales reps on behavioral and analytical and the other things. And when I reached to you, Taylor, and says, hey, I reached to you to LinkedIn, and I'm not a sales rep, but I learned from you guys, and I'm not trying to sell anything, but I would love to know more about the NSN. I would participate in some of the events and know what are the things happening. And I need to say that Taylor came back to me 48 hours, like, I'm sorry, I'm so late to reply. Like, 48 hours is a miracle. Nobody answered before 10 days. And I would love to, this is the next event. And shoot, all the events have a conflict, but you still keep going with me and in a relationship, and hey, yeah, I'm going to introduce you with this and this, and you should do this and this, and you're going to do the intros for this segment for other women that are going to be important to tell the story. So I need to say that I leave it on my own skin and how open, because you are part of the NSN and you're part of face of NSN, and you're really good promoter of that. And you make me feel always like in home, even though I'm not a part of an associate. You always really open, and what do you need, how we can move forward from that. And so I cannot imagine for somebody who is in sales and they want to do a network, how important it is to belong to a place where everybody talk about the same language.
Ambiverts sell 24% more than introverts and 32% more than extroverts. Come to learn with us Behavior for Sales, Human Behavior Hacker School.
Yes. I mean, it's super important. And I think that, again, it just goes to the power of the network. And we provide so many opportunities, no matter what skill level you're on, to grow in your sales skills and your sales training and development. And so if you're looking for inspiration, for instance, attending one of our panel workshops, which I think I invited you to over a couple times, our hashtag Women Crushing the Workplace WCW event, we always have a standout panel of women who are at different levels of their career, from VPs to district managers, who can share in their success. So if maybe you're not necessarily looking for your next role, it's a great place to be reminded and feel refreshed and rejuvenated and inspired. If you're looking for, ways to develop your skills and you're trying to get to the next level of your career, we offer different workshops, and we offer them in partnership with our national and local sponsors, or we offer them on our own accord. And it ranges because we know that people are in different levels of their careers. And so if you're looking, maybe you're...
I want to clarify this.
Sorry.
This is not a place where you go and have a couple of drinks and you exchange cards. You
Right.
have developed training, speakers, webinars, seminars. I've been seeing on LinkedIn, you have a big sponsor. I don't want to mess it up. It start with a J.
Yes.
Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
So you have Johnson & Johnson sponsor all these webinars where you have amazing people who have made it and talk about the experience. So what happened with certain places, then I've been invited and like, okay, beside everybody get wasted and exchange card that you don't remember who's the person next day, what you get on.
Yeah.
My time is really limited, and I love to belong because networking for me is physically painful.
Yeah.
So when with associations that I can start knowing someone and being introduced, is easy for me.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of time, so I want to be respectful of my own pressure to belong to some place. So when you belong to a place to give you more than that, it's really important people being aware. So NSN doesn't only is an excuse to have a drink and exchange cards once a month.
Yes.
Can you give us a bullet point that all the things people can get when you approach to you guys?
So the other things that NSN offers are beyond where you get a drink, Susan.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
yes, of course. We kicked it off. So so besides, like the networking, which you understand is very important. Like I said at the beginning, we do panel discussions where you can hear from aspirational and inspirational speakers just about their success journey and the things that they've been achieving and how they've gotten to where they are and the things that they're looking to accomplish. We also do workshops and webinars, both in person and focusing online now, but those generally consist of developmental building. So it can range from anything to learning how to be a more active listener, which is a workshop we have coming soon, to something that's a little bit more personal, discussing opportunities to strengthen your finances. So we offer workshops like that. So we try to cover all bases. So whether it's professional or personal, we want to make sure that people get a nice trifecta of connecting with us. So whether you're looking to grow your career, looking to meet your next mentor, your next best friend, or whether you're just looking to learn a new skill so that you can grow in your current career, we try to offer all three for our members and for our supporters.
Do you think that the place that you are today couldn't have been achieved if you haven't been part of a bigger group since you're so young?
I don't think so. I think that if I didn't connect with the network early and stick with it, then I think that my career trajectory, I think may have still happened, but I don't think that it would have been as interesting by far. I don't think my story would have been as interesting and compelling, because my story is very interesting and how I got to where I am now. And I think that I would have been a little bit more, I think I would have been very caught up.
Less excited. Let's say it this way.
Less excited. I think I would have been like a little bit more caught up in my own world and still kind of struggling to figure it out. But because I was able to join this organization so early and very early on in my career, I could ask for advice early. I could, use the organization as a platform to try different things that I have an interest in very early on. I could build skills early that I know, a lot of skills that I have, people attribute them to going back to school. And I learned those by being able to volunteer for this organization and putting them into practice, in a real life practice. And it's given me a strong portfolio to use throughout my career. So I definitely credit being a part of this network to a lot of my growth and development, and will always be very thankful for it. And that's why I'm so glad to be a leader within the network, and so really encourage people to, join an association like this very early on if you can, and then realize that it's never too late. We're lifelong learners. I fully believe in that. And so if you are interested in joining an organization like National Sales Network, I definitely encourage you to do so. But I definitely say connecting with professional organizations is definitely definitely helps you out in your career on the long term.
And all the information about you, your value, and how to connect to the NSN is going to be attached. And I always says, you never start, you're always thinking how an interview and a conversation is going to go. And I always like the free flow. Some people like, what do you mean? What you can ask me? I don't know. I love to this flow in the way we start from the behind to the beginning, but it's something that is still in my head. And like, you study fashion. And I always remember every time that I have a Zoom with you, is like, you have amazing earrings. I love the glasses you're wearing. You always the color coordinated. So you had it in your blood. I love it because I pay a lot of attention to that. As you can see, I do the same.
Yes, I love all the turquoise, by the way.
You see, like everything is like matching. Girl, we need to keep the girl. So you study fashion, you ended up working in furnitures, and now your mentor is somebody who is in makeup that is fashion too. Makeup is one of the biggest fashion thing because you just made lipstick, and next year is going to be glossy, and the next one is going to be silver. Like they change all the time. So it's really trendy, and fashion is really trendy. How you went from that girl who went to college dreaming about fashion, incorporating your life to the point that you are today and the point you want to go. Tell me the journey. Now we're going to talk only about you.
Only about me. Oh, goodness. Okay. So growing up, I've always had a love and a passion for fashion, as cheesy as it is. And I always wanted to have my own store and be a buyer. And that was all throughout college, that was really my focus, was merchandising. And I had an internship to be a buyer. And when I was in my senior year, I went through this long interview process to work for a really well-known retailer, e-commerce based retailer. And I was sure I had it. I had family who works there. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to move there. I'm going to have a great buying career, all those things. And so at the end of the day, I ended up not getting the job. And I was in my final 3 months of college, and I was scrambling, like not knowing what I was going to do. And that was very uncommon for me because I had been very active throughout college. I was the one that people are like, oh, she's set, like she doesn't have to worry about a job after school. And that was definitely not the case. And it was very disheartening. But what I always had, and what people always knew, is that I always had a job. I was always doing something. And so I've always worked in retail since my very first job at like 15 and a half, 16, and utilizing that passion for fashion as much as I could and getting that exposure on very early. So when I was in college, I worked for Sunglass Hut, and I was like, I need to move to a big city. So I'm just going to move to Chicago. Most people be like, oh, I'm going to move to LA or New York. And I thought both of those places, perception-wise, I wasn't necessarily keen on moving to either one of them. And I had been to them several times. And so I was like, I want to move to Chicago. I know it's not a huge fashion capital, but I know there's a lot of great businesses there. I know there's a lot of ad agencies, a lot of creative companies. I'll figure it out, but I'll at least work in retail. And so I transferred my job here. I literally graduated from college. And a month after I graduated, I moved to Chicago. And I don't.
You definitely don't waste your time at any point, no?
Yeah,
you have everything.
I don't. Susan, I'm on the move all the time.
No, don't tell me. I don't believe you. Really?
I always keep it moving. So I moved here, and so I started working for Sunglass Hut, and I wanted more full-time work. And then I started working for Bloomingdale's, and my career of selling and retail sales have just been very organic. And while I may have studied fashion marketing and management in college because I wanted to be very specific in what I studied, I could have went to any school to study marketing. I could have went to a different school, more liberal arts college, to study fashion. But I specifically went to the school that I did and chose the major that I did because I wanted to be in a place where my creative perspective could flourish and grow. And since that time, I've been able to utilize that throughout my career. So with working with Bloomingdale's, I was able to be a brand specialist and use my creativity to do a lot of the merchandising for the store and create, one-off programs to drive sales for my personal book of business. Same thing when I worked for Coca-Cola. I did a lot of merchandising and programs and was able to really sell those into my accounts, and to ultimately drive my sales and my book of business. Same thing with my work at the furniture store, the furniture manufacturer. It was about using the insight that I had, having a creative perspective, speaking to the change in the retail environment and how a lot of that was going to be driven by shopping online, and still pull that influence of working or of going to the school that I did and being involved in the programs that I did to utilize me to be successful, and for me to utilize over and over and over again. So while my path of getting here may have seemed all over the place, it's very interesting how at the end of the day, they have all served a very important purpose in my life professionally and have gotten me to where I am now. And, at this, I don't think I shared it with you, but I'll be starting a new role at the end of this month with an advertising agency, and the focus is on integrated marketing, and it's with Coca-Cola. And so I'm working
Congrats.
for...
Most of the people that I've been talking, women in sales, are like, I'm starting a new position. When people says like, we're losing position, like, no, you're not looking at, I have the feeling that you're so worried about what is happening that you need to open a little the funnel of the scope.
Definitely.
That when we have a crisis, there are other places, funnels, they're open.
Definitely.
So that's what I saw. And again, I don't have any affiliation with NSNN, but how important it is to belong to a place where it help you to put your head together and you see the big picture and not like, oh my God, I'm losing my job. Like, no, there are opportunities out there.
Definitely.
So it's funny that you're the fourth person that I talk in sales that I'm starting a new role. And we need to talk about hiring and interviewing in the middle of the pandemic. Like, how the hell do you do that?
No, I'm extremely grateful, but it ties back into the connections that I've been able to build through NSN. I met one of our speakers at a previous event that we hosted several years ago. He connected me with a young lady who works for an advertising agency. She was very helpful in helping kind of guide my train of thought of where I wanted to be in my career, because I was a little bit all over the place and I didn't really know like what I wanted to do next. And so she was very helpful in just kind of like talking that through with me. And through the connection with her, she recommended me to work on a different client than what she worked on. But she recommended me to a supervisor who managed that account. And at that time, they weren't hiring, but they actually kept my resume on file for 2 years. And they reached out to me.
That is made an impression. Somebody keep your resume for 2 years. You have done a really good impression.
Yeah, it was fantastic to hear. And they had been kind of watching me and all of the things that I do outside of my 9 to 5, and really thought that was very impressive. But they're like, hey, we would love for you to come and work on the other side of the business that you've already worked for. So even, like I said, even though my story is like from fashion to here, it's all serves a very incredible purpose throughout the span of my career, by having one particular passion. The things that come along with that have played into various industries, various roles that I've been a part of. So I'm very grateful to, have the experiences that I do and be able to have the perspective that I do.
Actually, I think that we need to do a special with all the women who had been looking for a job during the pandemic, and do a special and how to interview where you cannot build the relationship that we are used to. Because again, I think it's a crisis is always a possibility. That's the reason the word crisis in Chinese mean possibilities. We are a culture who see crisis like the end. Another culture seen as an opportunity at the beginning. And it's, if you Google it, you're gonna find millions of companies who started in the middle of the worst crisis. Because they saw a bridge. So if you need to give 3 advice to someone who is looking for a job in the middle of this pandemic where the networking face-to-face is not happening, what you would advise?
Yeah, I think I've kind of like beat it over the head over our conversation, but definitely utilizing the network that you have. So connecting with, affiliate groups like National Sales Network, and then just connecting with people who are in your immediate LinkedIn network, finding those commonalities that you have and making that connection with them, and being, very open to that connection. And while there may not be an opportunity, like I said, at least you've connected with the person. And, once something becomes available, reach back out to them and say, I saw this role. Is there an internal link that you could share with me in terms of or can I use you as a recommendation or something like that? And most of the time, people are very, very, willing to help in that regards. I'll say also be open to different roles. You had brought that up earlier. I wasn't necessarily thinking that I was going to be in an advertising role. I think I was more so still looking at, now that I've had a very strong taste of e-commerce from my previous experience, I was more so looking at those roles and how to still be in like a sales role. And so I think it's really important to be open to those roles, and then pitching yourself to those companies as to why you're the perfect fit. Because looking at my background, people may be like, well, you don't have any agency experience. And if a company is willing to invest in me and teach me that, that's not a hard thing for me to grasp. Because what I do have is everything else that is going to be important when it comes to managing and building the relationship with the client. So I think that's very important, being very open. And then utilizing the resources that are out there. So there's so many organizations and different tools that are out there that are here to help you in this career search. So taking advantage of like either courses on LinkedIn, or either free courses that you find like online, or through like that are being hosted in like your local community that touch on how to do a virtual interview, how to master that skill, or how to do a resume or perfect your LinkedIn profile, I think is also very important, because you have the time to do it. And so why not take the time to invest in yourself and learn these channels better? Because this is like the way of the future. There's a lot of companies that are not going to meet in person for a whole nother year. And so it's really important that you stay up to date as to what's happening, and not be intimidated by this new being intimidated by technology being used in this new way.
Taylor, I have so many questions to do, but we need to give this an hour, or my editor is going to kill me. But I think I'm going to do a special panel. And I don't know if we're not going to do a live special panel to help women who are on the transition to looking for a job, and from different aspects. I have people from all around the United States. And even though we get paired from people like you with somebody in UK who help women to become the leaders they want to. And she did a pivot on this in the middle of this, and now she had more work than never had in her life. So like, don't even tell me, this is the best chance I have. Like, I need to put all you together in a panel. So we're going to do a live webinar and record it and put it out there. Taylor, thank you very much. I cannot wait to see where you're going, because you have a really interesting story.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely look forward to further connecting with your audience. And if there's anything that I can do for you or for anyone else who's tuning in, I am more than happy to do so.
And looking forward with this special drink with the special tequila. I'm gonna keep with wine. I'm old, so I'm
all wine.
Yeah, I'm old-fashioned. Wine is okay with me, but I'm gonna enjoy seeing you to experiment with the bartender and the new.
Yes. When hopefully soon we can meet up for that drink in person.
I hope so, Taylor. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Susan. Have a good one.
Selling is a craft and a science. Come to learn with us the superpower behind behavior for sales. Human Behavior Hacker School. Different ages, different backgrounds, different stories. One common denominator: the desire to unleash a powerhouse woman. Selling on heels. Give a girl the right shoes and she will conquer the world.